Welcome to the DKD True Talk show. And an exciting day it is to be here among all of my viewers today. We will have some exciting conversation and dialogue on today. As you can see, I don't have any guests with me here today. However, you, my friend, you, the viewers, you will be my guests on today. We will be talking about a number of things that are happening in our community that I think is very, very important. But I just want to retract some of the shows, and I want to thank TV 33, WHPR, Miss Willis, and the supporting staff over here for again allowing me to live out my dream, allowing me this opportunity to share with the community, the listeners and the viewers about things that aren't always common talk show conversations within at least the Detroit community. So I appreciate this opportunity, and I'm living the dream. I'm really living this dream. I've had some challenges here and there, I would say, with guests sometimes, but I think that just comes with the territory. But I can't stop and I won't stop, right? So, again, thank you for tuning in each and every Wednesday, taking your lunch breaks with me to take the time out to hear what DKD True Talk has to say each and every Wednesday. Today, I'll be taking in calls from you guys. Why? Because you're my guest today. You can call in as we begin to talk about some of the community topics and local news that I want to share and have some dialogue with you about on today. Get your pens out because you will be calling in to 313 868 0342 if you want to have a conversation or if you have a question for me in reference to what we will be discussing today. I just want to recap a couple of the shows that I've had and thank those guests thank those guests again for joining me, taking the time out to join me and share their stories of overcoming barriers in their life. We've talked about domestic violence. We talked about mentorship. We talked about and had guests on that had dealt with situations of bullying and rape. And again, some of those touchy topics that people aren't always comfortable in talking about. But however, we know they are necessary because there are many out here in the community that are dealing with some of the issues that are not comfortable topics, but are necessary for conversations in order to heal and move forward in life because life is great. Life is truly great. Each day you wake up with the mindset to move on and move forward, I encourage you to take advantage of that. And that's what the DKD True Talk show is all about. It's about inspiring my guests. It's about educating my guests and bringing awareness to the guests that join me. So let's talk. I was talking to a local a couple of friends of mine in reference to the news feeds that pop up on your social media. And I wonder how many people really pay attention to the news feeds that pop up on your phone. I said social media, but I mean pop up on your phone. How many of you really take the time out to look at what's popping up? So I'm gonna be honest. Here recently, I say the last couple of months, really, I've really been making it a point that when it pops up, if I'm not able to do it at that moment, that I really do go back and read some of the news alerts that are popping up. And the reason why is because they're important. If they're important enough to pop up, then they're important enough for us to take time to read. Why? Because it's affecting us. It's affecting our community. It might not be your situation. It may not be your neighborhood at the time where the situation may be occurring. But I promise you, somewhere along the line, a situation similar to that, if not that situation, could affect you. So I'm encouraging you on today, if you've not been doing that, pay more attention to the local news feeds that pop up on your phone and take time out to read them. So as we approach the month of April, I wanted to talk about or bring awareness to child abuse. The month of April is not only the month where they talk about child abuse prevention awareness, but it's also a month where they talk about the month of the young child, young children. So they bring awareness to young children all over the world, and talk about how important they are, and how you as parents, or we as parents, should make sure that we're pouring into the young children and making them a point of interest and topic of concern during that month of April. But how many of you know that it can't just take place during the month of April? However, I do appreciate the fact that they have identified a month where we can bring more awareness to those two topics. I mentioned child abuse as well, which is a prevention month. If you don't know, I've shared before, my background is in social work, and that's something that I'm passionate about. That is just something that's who I am. Social work is just what it says. It works with the community, it works with people, and helping them to identify their problems, their barriers, and work them out. Rather it's through conversation, counsel, or identifying reliable resources that help them overcome their barriers in life. So I worked in the child abuse unit. I worked with Detroit Police Department Child Abuse Unit for many years. I worked in collaboration with Child Protective Services. I did a lot in that field, and I've seen a lot. I saw a lot during that time period of my life, which you couldn't imagine. Some people may have experienced it themselves, but what I learned during that time period is that one, there's no social economic background status quo that can put you in that situation where you become a perpetrator of child abuse, or you become the person who's labeled as someone who has committed the crime of child abuse. So we have to be very careful, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, of what pushes your buttons to the point where you cause harm to your child. If we were to talk to the individuals, or survey, I would say, the individuals who have dealt with or have been charged with child abuse, and ask them, do you love your children? The answer would be yes. Did you mean to harm your children? The answer would be no. So again, most people don't seek out to cause harm to their children, but things in life that take place, it happens, and so unfortunately, sometimes they harm their children. In local news, and I want to talk about the most recent story so I talked about child abuse, but with child abuse is neglect as well. So it's not just the abuse where you see the physical signs of child abuse, but it's neglect. It's not taking care of your children properly, not providing food, not providing the basic necessities for your children, that could also lead you into the courts and in the police system, because of failure to take care of your child, which is neglect. But the recent local story where the children were found at the motel, there was an incident. So I want to bring attention to that. I think it's very important. The mother of two children that were left at the Detroit motel. I'm not sure of how many of you saw that story. I believe it was Tuesday, or yesterday or Monday. But at any rate, it was just about after midnight Tuesday. A 29-year-old male told police, I'm reading to you the article, he was walking through the parking lot of the Cranbrook House Motel on James Cousin. That's local. That's right in the neighborhood of many of you, where there were two children living in a motel, or at least they were there in the motel. He told the police he heard shots fired and felt the pain in his back where he had been struck with a bullet. He was taken to the hospital and listed in temporary serious condition. After the police arrived to investigate, they said they found a bullet hole on the window of the room where the children were residing, room 119. When they entered the room, police say they found two small children alone. One was in the crib, the other on a bed. Both had dirty diapers on. Let's stop there. Now, I just explained to you, or share with you, a recent incident where there was a situation where there was neglect. There was clear neglect. Two children. I told you the ages were, I think it was 7 months and 1 year old. Child left alone in a motel. There were gunshots. Someone was shot. The bullet went through the window of the motel. which could have easily struck the children. I don't know if that bothers you, but that bothers me on many levels. One, the children being home alone. And I understand that situations occur where people have to go to work. And I don't know what the mom or the dad, I don't know their situation. I don't know why the children were left alone. But children at 7 months and 1 years of age cannot be left alone. I can tell you that. That right there is against the law because they can't take care of themselves. They can't speak for themselves. So therefore, you cannot leave children 7 months and 1 year of age home alone. The other problem to you shooters out here, the ones who are not thinking about anything but themselves, obviously, at the time. Whether you're trying to rob somebody or cause harm to somebody, I need you to stop and think. I take this violence thing real serious. I work with the population of offenders, and I make sure every day I pour into them something positive to work on the mindset of change. This is serious, people. And if you know people who are shooters, who are out here committing crimes and robbing people and doing all these mean, vicious things that are causing harm to people, innocent people, I need you to take a stand. I need you to be in their ear because it has to stop. It has to stop. Many people are losing their lives over unnecessary violence. It's ridiculous, and we have to do something about it. I'm really glad that these two children were not harmed. The bullet went through the window of the motel room where they were residing. One was in the bed and one was in the crib. There was no adult there to take care of them because once they're gone, there's no coming back. You know, people come to funerals or go to funerals and they're crying and they weeping over the caskets. But the victims, the people who are dead, they're gone. So they can't hear all the cries. So my point in saying that is we have to do better as a community. We have got to begin to speak up. We have to begin to talk to those who are into committing violent crimes and into shooting because it's just second nature to them. We have to begin to talk to them about alternative ways to handling problems, alternative ways to surviving out here in this society. It is critical. We are at a critical point, not only in the world, but in our community. Change can take place here in our community. I'm going to go into a couple of more local stories. When I come back, I'm going to take this time out to, well, you know what? I'm going to take this time out to say if you have questions about this about this topic, you can begin to call in now to 313-868-0342. But I want to share some statistics with you about abuse. Yes, I am alarmed about the situation that happened with the two children being left alone at home. With all the resources available out here, with all the knowledge that's being shared on a regular basis that comes across many of the computers that professionals have and work with and deal with all the time, we should not be at a state we should not be where we are now with not knowing what to do, how to find alternative care. We should be at a point, and despite what the city says about the stats have gone down as far as violent crime, crime still exists. Anytime an innocent person or anybody is being shot and killed or shot at, it's still an alarming rate, whether it's one or two. And so, again, I say we have got to take these things serious. And the more dialogue we have about it, in sharing the knowledge, the better off we will become and be. But I do want to share some statistics with you about child abuse. Because as I mentioned before, this is next month, starting April the 1st. It kicks off Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. And at one point, Michigan had a really high rate of child abuse and neglect. I think we've gone down since then, but I do want to share some overall statistical data with you guys about child abuse and neglect. So let's talk. Scope of child abuse. Children are suffering from a hidden epidemic of child abuse and neglect. That's key right there. Hidden epidemic. That means people are not talking about it. And I believe that's one reason why the month became a month to bring awareness, because it's something that's hidden. I can recall many times on the child abuse unit where people or young people were severely spanked or disciplined, and the marks you couldn't imagine. But when the parent would come in, they would say, well, I don't see it as child abuse. My mom disciplined me with extension cords. My mom hit me over the head with bottles, and I'm all right. Well, we're in a new era, and even then it was child abuse. Whether your parents knew it or whether they got identified or charged with it, it was child abuse at that time as well. But now, at this age, in the 2000s, it's something that it shouldn't be a hidden epidemic. It's a widespread war against our children that we have the power to stop and understand the issue is the first step. Just how bad is the issue of child abuse in the United States? Well, let me share with you. I need you to listen to these statistics because they're critical. And we're talking about children ages 0 to 17. Every year, more than 3.6 million referrals. I said 3.6 million referrals are made to child protection agencies, involving more than 5.5 million children. A referral can include multiple children as well. But I said 3.6 million referrals. So that's on one side, that's a good thing, because people are talking, people are reporting, people are no longer standing back and watching young children become victims of abuse and or neglect. So people are talking more. So that's not a bad thing. But 6.6 million children are part of those referrals. That's a lot. That's an alarming statistic. And it's something that we should be taking more interest in, as far as increasing our knowledge and our awareness on how we can help people deal with their issues and their problems. A lot of times when it happens, it's because people have become overwhelmed. The problems and the children's behaviors don't happen overnight. And sometimes they escalate, and the parent gets to a boiling point, lashes out, and then there you have someone sitting in a courtroom trying to defend why they caused harm to their child. It says the United States has one of the worst records among industrialized nations, losing on average between 4 and 7 children every day to child abuse and neglect. Is that not an alarming number? Let me say it again. An average between 4 and 7 children every day. Every day, a loss because of child abuse and neglect. A report of child abuse is made every 10 seconds. Yearly referrals to State Child Protective Service involve 6.6 million children, and around 3.2 million of those children are subject to an investigative report. And basically what that means is there was enough evidence to go into that home or go into that child care center or child facility to investigate the report that was made, because not every report gets investigated. Let's start there. I know a lot of people get fearful, the no snitching thing, even when it comes to child abuse and neglect. They're not comfortable. All you need to do is suspect child abuse and or neglect. That's number one. Number two, remember, the blood of that child could be on your hands for not reporting. You could save a child's life. It's important to report because you just suspected it. But it doesn't mean that it will get investigated. It does not mean that those children will be removed. Many of them don't get removed. If they get removed, it's necessary that they get removed in order for the parent to get some help. One thing I know about the system when I was working in the system is that they work very hard to place the children, one, within their communities, and two, with family members, people that they know. And it works. The family remains intact, remains together, while the parents get help on dealing with their children. There is no handbook to parenting. However, there is help available out here for parents to get the help that they need to deal with whatever issues that they are dealing with. So we talked a little bit about statistical, shared a little statistical data overall as the United States on what we're dealing with child abuse. But as you've seen with the local story that I shared, and that's just one out of so many stories, but since it was as recent as Tuesday, I thought it was important to share. People and children are being left home alone. And although there's no law, honestly, that says your child cannot be left home alone, Michigan law, but there is circumstances. If they can't talk, if they can't walk, if they can't call 911, if they can't call the neighbor, if there's a situation occurring, then they should not be left home alone. We have to do better. Reach out, tap into your resources, figure it out, call and get some help. I also want to talk to you guys about something else that's going to impact our community that is a very, very important topic. And I'm sure if you're not one that reads the newspapers or your news on your phone or watch the news, you may not be aware of what's taking place here in 2019. So for those of you who are receiving Medicaid now, I think it's important that you know about a recent survey recent study, I should say, that was taken place by the University of Michigan. It was actually done in December of 2017, but it took place in December 2017, and now it may impact and affect you in the year of 2019. So when those college students are doing those doing the research and the surveys, it's important to pay attention to what they are researching and what the results are, because it can impact you. And so this is something I thought, and when we talk local news, that I thought was very important to share with you guys on today in reference to Medicaid. It's called the Healthy Michigan Plan. Make sure you become aware of that. The Healthy Michigan Plan. Nearly half the individuals receiving Medicaid, now this is what the study talked about, resulted in. Nearly half the individuals receiving Medicaid are working. About 48% are working. 5% of them are students, meaning college students, and nearly 5% are 5% are home taking care of children. And 11% reported being unable to work because of their health. So when you look at the research and the data and the results of it, you might kind of understand why they may be moving to this. The state is about to put people to work. It's no longer that day and age where you can sit at home with your children and watch. And I'm not labeling anyone, but I am being real. This is true talk. The days of you sitting at home, kicking your feet up and watching the soap operas or whatever you do, the talk shows or whatever you do during the day, and feel like you don't have to work. Your work is dropping your children off at school and picking them up. That day has changed. It has changed, and it's changing each and every day. Now they're talking about your medical benefits, which are essential and a vital part of life. Everybody needs to have health care. That's how we live. That's how we survive, especially when you do preventive health care. But since its inception, the Medicaid plan has helped improve individuals' health overall. So again, I say health care is critical, it's important, and it's helping people live happy, productive lives. Why? Because we're doing more on the prevention side. But I need you to hear about the change. The change is to take place in 2019, where those of you who are receiving Medicaid may have to go to work. They're going to be tracking you. They're developing a system where they track and see what's going on in your life, because they ask a lot of questions. And if you are able to work in order to receive health care benefits through the system, you're going to have to go to work. Now, I'm getting ready to wrap up. That's enough for you to marinate on. If you're at home and you feel like you don't have to work or you don't want to work and there's not enough jobs, and yes, we have a job situation going on, but there are jobs out here. Get ready. Don't wait till 2019 to say, oh, wow, I don't have medical benefits for myself or my children. When I've just warned you and I've just shared with you some critical information as it relates to your medical benefits for you and your children. If you're not working, I advise you to start looking for a job, because in the year 2019, things are going to change and they will impact your life. Well, this is the DKD True Talk. I have more to talk about, but as you know, the time runs out, so you have to get it when you get it, right? Thank you for tuning in to the DKD True Talk show. I look forward to talking with you guys on next Wednesday. Again, I appreciate you joining me each and every Wednesday at 12 o'clock to take time out with your lunch to speak and talk with me. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you.